Living in a free country is great. At age 18, you can buy cigarettes. At age 21, you can buy and consume alcohol. And better yet, at any age, you can blow off fireworks. Well, you probably should have a permit, but that's besides the point. So I'm really excited. I can barely contain myself because in a couple months, I will be turning 18. Yes, I'll be a legal adult, meaning I will not only have to pay taxes, but also, and technically up until I'm 25, I will have to register for the draft in this country for the military, otherwise known as conscription. And believe it or not, in the past, I've actually received mail from the Marines urging me to register and enlist, which I find funny because either A, they must be sending out mass mail, which I assume is the case, or otherwise they don't understand who I am because I can barely survive playing a football game, let alone fighting a war. So anyway, how did this exactly come about? How did the draft arise in our country? Well, in 1917, with the Selective Service Act during World War I, it all came about because during that time period, people, meaning Americans, didn't really want to enlist in the military. They didn't want to go fight a war, which should be an indication that if the people don't want to enter a war, maybe it's a good idea for government to stay out of it as well. But because nobody wanted to join the war effort, the government passed legislation, again, the Selective Service Act of 1917, which forced people to enlist. They developed a lottery system, which semantically is kind of funny. It's like, oh, if your number is picked, it'll be your lucky day to win an all-expense-paid trip to death for your country. So yeah, I find that quite comical, except, of course, deep down, very saddening. But they established the lottery system, and then people went to war pretty much because they had no choice. Now, technically, by today's standard, we don't have an active draft, or again, conscription. Instead, we have something called a contingency plan, meaning that, yes, once you're age 18 to 25, if you're a male, more on that in a minute, you have to register, but you won't ever be called through a lottery system to go into war unless there is some imminent danger in the country. Who exactly defines what that danger or threat is? Well, nobody really knows. It could be WMDs in Iraq that are non-existent. It could be the threat of ISIS overseas. Nobody really knows, but there is that system in place should anything happen. So that's really irritating to me and frustrating and unnerving because I don't want to go fight a war, but apparently I would have to. However, then again, like the draft dodgers did in Vietnam, I could also flee to Canada, which would probably be a better option and more safe. Or I could just say, hey, it's not in my religion to, or it's rather against my religion to go fight a war, so I could use the First Amendment to my advantage. But going back to what I was alluding to earlier with women not being in the draft, of course this comment is a bit spiteful, but it's still true. Now, feminism in my mind, at least old feminism, traditional feminism, meant that women were fighting for equality, which I agree with, fighting for the minimum wage, for example. However, new feminism in my mind is not fighting for equality, it's fighting for superiority. Where are the new feminists when we, as males age 18 to 25, have to go to war? Should they not also be fighting to do the same? Doesn't make much sense to me. But anyway, those are my basic thoughts on conscription in this country. Personally, I don't want to go to war, but let me know in the comments below, do you think there exists such thing as a just war? If so, what are the conditions under which a just war would be fought? Would you personally be willing to go fight a war? Again, let me know in the comments below. Peace, love, and liberty. Andrew Demeter, signing out.